Come and knock on our door. We've been waiting for you. Remember when ABC had a show that was so risque for its time that landlords had to pretend their tenant was gay just to avoid scandal? Number 15. The show required 3 pilots before anyone thought it was worth watching. You know how some shows just seem destined for success? Yeah, Three's Company was definitely not one of those shows. In fact, it's kind of a miracle we ever got to see Jack Tripper trip over that couch at all. See, the first pilot was written by Larry Gelbart. Yeah, the guy who created MASH. But here's the kicker. Gelbart initially thought the whole premise was beneath him. Can you imagine? The man who gave us Hawkeye Pierce turned his nose up at Jack Tripper. This first pilot was basically a carbon copy of the British original, complete with characters named David, Jenny, and Samantha living at something called the Hacienda Palms in Hollywood. ABC executives took one look at it and said, nah, Middle America isn't gonna get this. And honestly, they might have been right, so they tried again. The second pilot featured Joyce DeWitt as Janet. Hey, at least they got that part right. But instead of Suzanne Somers, they had an actress named Suze Lanier Bramlett as the third roommate. Still no dice with the network. Finally, on the third try, they got the magic combination: John Ritter, Joyce DeWitt, and Suzanne Somers. And even then, ABC was so unsure about the show that they pulled it from the fall lineup in favor of what they called more promising series. Talk about a vote of confidence, right? Makes you wonder what those more promising shows were. Probably something about a talking horse or a genie in a bottle. The late 70s were weird, people. Number 14. Billy Crystal auditioned for Jack Tripper, and we almost lived in a very different timeline. Picture this. Instead of John Ritter's physical comedy masterpiece, we could have had Billy Crystal doing his stand-up routine while pretending to be gay to fool Mr. Roper. It's like sliding into an alternate dimension where When Harry Met Sally never happened because Billy was too busy falling off couches in Santa Monica. According to the casting records, Crystal actually auditioned for the role of Jack Tripper. Can you imagine him doing those legendary pratfalls? The man who gave us I'll Have What She's Having could have been the one saying, "Come and knock on our door." But here's where it gets even weirder. While Crystal didn't get the Three's Company gig, he landed on another groundbreaking ABC show that premiered the exact same year. Soap. You know, the show that featured one of television's first openly gay characters. So in a way, Crystal went from auditioning to play a straight guy pretending to be gay to actually playing a gay character. Hollywood, am I right? And speaking of casting near misses, future WKRP in Cincinnati, bombshell Lonnie Anderson also auditioned for Chrissy Snow. But according to John Ritter himself, the producers thought Anderson was too beautiful. Apparently, they couldn't believe that someone that gorgeous would ever need roommates to split the rent, which, honestly, tells you everything you need to know about 1970s Hollywood logic. Sorry, you're too attractive to be believably broke. That's some next-level typecasting right there. Number 13. Suzanne Somers was literally hired the day before production started, and it was completely by accident. This might be the most chaotic casting story in TV history. Picture this. Production is about to begin, they've got their Jack, they've got their Janet, but they still don't have their Chrissy. The role that would make Suzanne Somers a household name? They couldn't cast it to save their lives. So what does ABC programming head Fred Silverman do? He grabs a stack of audition tapes, sits down, and starts fast-forwarding through them like he's looking for his favorite song on a mixtape. Then he stops. Boom, there's Suzanne Somers. Now here's the thing. Somers had already been passed over, rejected. Thanks, but no thanks. Don't call us, we'll call you. But Silverman saw something, called her in, and hired her literally the day before they started filming. Years later, Silverman admitted that her casting was an accident and that she never should have gotten the part. But then he added that he was ultimately pleased with her performance. Talk about backhanded compliments. It's like saying you were a happy mistake, like penicillin or Post-it notes. But you know what? Sometimes the best things in life are accidents. Without this last-minute Hail Mary casting decision, we never would have gotten Chrissy Snow's legendary blonde moments, her fashion sense that somehow made spandex and tube tops look classy, or that unforgettable laugh that could probably be heard 3 apartments over. And let's be honest, Somers brought something special to that role that went way beyond just reading lines. She had this natural chemistry with Ritter and DeWitt that you simply can't manufacture. Sometimes lightning in a bottle happens 24 hours before you need it most. Number 12. Jack Tripper wasn't supposed to be called Tripper, and the name change became comedy gold. Originally, John Ritter's character was going to be named Jack Tripp, just like his British counterpart Robin Tripp from Man About the House. Simple adaptation, right? Take the British guy named Tripp, make him American, keep the name. Easy peasy. But then someone with the actual name Jack Tripp objected. Yeah, there was a real person out there who was like, hey, I don't want my name associated with this guy who pretends to be gay and falls down a lot. Fair enough, honestly. So they had to change it to Tripper. And you know what? This might have been the best legal complaint in television history because Jack Tripper became comedy perfection. Think about it. The guy was literally always tripping. Over couches, over his own feet, over misunderstandings with the landlords. The name wasn't just a character identifier, it was a lifestyle. Every time Jack stumbled, tumbled, or completely face-planted, which happened roughly 17 times per episode, his name became part of the joke. It's like the universe conspired to make this character's clumsiness into his brand identity. And let's give John Ritter credit here. The man turned tripping into an art form. We're talking about physical comedy that would make Charlie Chaplin proud. Those weren't just random stumbles. They were carefully choreographed moments of genius that somehow never got old, even after 8 seasons and 172 episodes. So thanks, random guy named Jack Tripp, for objecting to the use of your name. You accidentally helped create one of the greatest character names in sitcom history. Number 11, Stanley Roper wasn't just a character. He was based on a real guy from Norman Fell's hometown. You know Stanley Roper, right? The perpetually befuddled landlord who somehow never figured out that Jack wasn't actually gay, despite approximately 0 evidence supporting Jack's supposed homosexuality? Well, Norman Fell didn't just pull that performance out of thin air. According to Fell himself, he based Stanley on a guy he knew back in Philadelphia. This guy was, in Fell's words, innocent and just can't do things right. But here's the kicker. He thought he was God's gift to the world. He considered himself attractive, well-dressed, and basically irresistible to women. Sound familiar? That's Stanley Roper in a nutshell. The guy who could barely figure out how to operate his own apartment building, but somehow maintained this unshakable confidence that he was a ladies' man. Meanwhile, his wife Helen is rolling her eyes so hard, they're practically doing 360 in her skull. The best part about Stanley was his complete obliviousness to reality. He'd make these grand proclamations about being a catch while wearing outfits that looked like they came from a garage sale at a retirement home. And his attempts at being suave? Pure comedy gold. But here's what made Norman Fell's performance so brilliant. He played Stanley as genuinely well-meaning. The guy wasn't malicious, he was just completely clueless. He really thought he was helping when he'd barge into the apartment unannounced. He genuinely believed his fashion choices were on point, and he honestly thought his wife found his antics charming. It takes real skill to make a character that delusional still somehow likable. But Fell pulled it off, probably because he was drawing from a real person, someone he'd observed and understood on a deeper level than just grumpy landlord number 3. Fact number 10, Richard Klein's Larry Dallas was supposed to be a one-time character. Number 10, Larry Dallas was never meant to stick around, but John Ritter's chemistry with Richard Klein changed everything. Larry Dallas, the sleazy, smooth-talking used car salesman who somehow became Jack's best friend, despite being the kind of guy who'd probably sell his own mother a lemon. He was originally written as a one-time guest character. One episode, one appearance, goodbye, Larry. But then Richard Klein showed up on set and had this immediate, undeniable chemistry with John Ritter. We're talking about the kind of comedic partnership that you can't plan, can't manufacture, and can't fake. The producers took one look at their scenes together and said, "Yeah, we need more of this." And thank goodness they did, because Larry Dallas became the perfect foil for Jack Tripper. Where Jack was innocent and bumbling, Larry was scheming and confident. Where Jack stumbled into trouble accidentally, Larry dove in headfirst on purpose. They were like the yin and yang of 1980s bachelor life. The genius of their friendship was how it never quite made sense, but somehow worked perfectly. Why would a guy like Jack, who was basically a golden retriever in human form, be best friends with a guy like Larry, who was clearly a used car salesman even when he wasn't selling used cars? But that's what made it funny. Larry brought out a different side of Jack, the guy talk side, the let's chase women together side that contrasted beautifully with his domestic life with Janet and Chrissy. And Richard Klein played Larry with just enough charm that you could almost understand why women fell for his lines, even though everyone in the audience could see through him from space. Plus, Larry gave the show someone who could actually understand Jack's supposedly gay act and play along with it. He became Jack's co-conspirator, which opened up all sorts of comedic possibilities that wouldn't have existed otherwise. Number 9. Three's Company was basically the American remake of a British show, and the differences tell you everything about cultural comedy. Man About the House ran in the UK from 1973 to 1976, and it was actually pretty successful over there. Same basic setup: one guy, two female roommates, lots of misunderstandings. But the British version was way more subtle with its humor. We're talking dry wit, character-driven comedy, the kind of stuff that makes you think before you laugh. Then American producers got hold of it and said, "You know what this needs? More pratfalls and innuendo." They cranked everything up to 11 and turned it into what they called an all-out farce. Where the British version had gentle misunderstandings, the American version had Jack hiding in closets, diving behind couches, and creating elaborate schemes that would make Lucy Ricardo proud. The numbers don't lie. The British original had 39 episodes over 3 years. The American version, 172 episodes over 8 years. That's more than 4 times as many episodes. Americans apparently couldn't get enough of the louder, broader, more physical version of the story. And both shows spawned spin-offs. The British version led to George and Mildred and Robin's Nest. The American version gave us The Ropers and Three's a Crowd. Although, spoiler alert, the American spin-offs were not great, but we'll get to that later. The cultural differences are fascinating when you think about it. British audiences were satisfied with subtle humor and implied situations. American audiences wanted Jack Tripper literally falling over furniture while explaining to Mr. Roper why he was wearing Chrissy's robe. Same premise, completely different execution, and both worked in their respective markets. It's like the difference between a gentle rain and a thunderstorm. Same water, totally different experience. Number 8, Come and Knock on Our Door was written by Joe Raposo, the musical genius behind Sesame Street and The Electric Company. Wait, what? The same guy who gave us Sunny Day and C is for Cookie also wrote the Three's Company theme song? That's like finding out that the person who designed your childhood bicycle also designed the space shuttle. Same skill set, wildly different applications. Joe Raposo was basically the secret weapon of feel-good music. He had this gift for creating songs that got stuck in your head in the best possible way. And Come and Knock on Our Door is the perfect example. It's impossible to hear those opening notes without singing along. But here's the funny part. They originally wanted the cast to sing the theme song themselves. Can you imagine? John Ritter, Joyce DeWitt, and Suzanne Somers gathered around a microphone, trying to harmonize their way through where the kisses are hers and his. According to associate producer Mimi Sewell, when they tried to get the cast to sing it, they didn't even come close. So they called in the professionals, session singers Ray Charles, not the famous one, a different Ray Charles, and Julia Rinker stepped in to give us the version we all know and love. The theme song was also perfect for the show because it managed to explain the entire premise in about 30 seconds while making it sound completely innocent. Come and knock on our door. We've been waiting for you. It's like a musical wink at the audience. We all know what kind of waiting is really going on here, but it sounds so wholesome. And that little musical sting when Jack trips in the opening credits? Chef's kiss, pure audio comedy that worked hand in hand with the visual gag. Raposo understood that the music had to be just as playful as the show itself. Number 7. That brunette who made John Ritter crash his bike in the opening credits? That was actually Suzanne Somers wearing a wig. This might be the most elaborate inside joke in television history. For the first 3 seasons, millions of viewers watched Jack Tripper ride his bike, see an attractive brunette, lose concentration, and crash. It became this iconic moment that perfectly captured Jack's character, always getting distracted by pretty women and always paying the price for it. But here's the twist. The random brunette who caused all this chaos was actually Suzanne Somers in a dark wig. They literally had Chrissy Snow in disguise, causing Jack to crash his bike because he was distracted by Chrissy Snow in disguise. It's like a comedy Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail, but funnier. John Ritter himself confirmed this in interviews, and when you know the secret, it becomes this perfect little metaphor for the show. Jack's constantly getting into trouble because of misunderstandings and misidentifications. He sees what he thinks is one thing, but it's actually something completely different.